Okay, this video is Weston Price, the Darwin of dentistry. This is Weston Price, and he was a dentist sort of born in Canada, practiced in America. He traveled all around the world in the 1930s, to Australia, Africa, saw the Maasai, saw the Eskimo, the Inuits, Tahiti, and a bunch of other places, studying people's teeth. And the conclusion he came to was that people who eat traditional diets with traditional whole foods, they almost never have any dental problems. Whereas he had noticed that in the modernization of the diet and people in America, and I don't know how much experience he had with Canada, but people were eating a lot more sweets, a lot more sugar, a lot more jam, white bread, processed food, flour. He didn't mention much that I'm aware of about acidity, like there's tremendous acidity in orange juice, a lot of acidity in soda pop and carbonated beverages, plus soda pop is sticky for teeth. But anyways, especially emphasize the sweets and the flour, and I've heard other people say they think flour is like sugar. There's no fiber. So anyways, the conclusion he came to is people need to eat these traditional foods, otherwise they end up with bad teeth. And the other thing about these populations, he called them primitive populations. I'll link to a video where you'll see him talking. He said they had zero access to modern food, zero access to toothbrushes, toothpaste, or dental floss. In addition to having a lot more cavities, modern people have a lot more jaw deformities, narrow dental arches, malocclusion of the teeth, inadequate development of the upper and lower jaw, the maxilla, and the mandible. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the pictures from the work of Weston Price. So these are examples of populations eating traditional diets, and he would photograph how their teeth were basically like perfect. Okay, and he saw that over and over again. And then he says, here's the typical teeth you'll see of the Westerners. They'll often have multiple cavities. Sometimes they'll have a narrow arch or malocclusion of the teeth. Lots of dental problems. And I had that experience when I went to England. I went to England in the 1980s, and I could not believe how terrible the teeth was for those people. Maybe eating too much jam on there. They often have, tea time with tea, and then they have a lot of sugar in their tea, and they have white bread with jam on it. Okay, then the other thing that always comes up when you talk about Weston Price is there was subsequently a foundation named after him. It was founded by Sally Falone and Mary Enig. And it's really sort of funded by the farming agricultural industry with the goal of promoting, animal foods, especially they're very pro all these different types of meat and milk. Anyways, they do say some things that are good. They say eat more whole, unprocessed foods and fruits and vegetables. But then they start giving a lot of bad advice, recommending you eat lots of meat and dairy, olive oil, and other oils. T. Colin Campbell had criticized them, and the main thing he was doing is he was speaking in response to the fact that they had criticized his book, The China Study. And in reality, they're really not a scientific place at all. They write some editorials and stuff. T. Colin Campbell felt that the Weston Price Foundation had sort of distorted what the dentist, Weston Price himself, was really all about, trying to understand teeth and understand health. People who criticize Weston Price's work said he did a good job of looking at teeth, but he really didn't know much about the overall health of the populations that he was studying. Another criticism is that, back in the day when Weston Price was traveling around in the 1930s, there were still lots of family farms, and the people living on family farms were eating better quality food, less processed than people eating, nowadays a lot of stuff comes from these industrial farms where there's much more pesticides and herbicides and subsequent processing of the food. But anyways, the bottom line was old-fashioned simple things tend to be better. I'll put a link to the Weston Price video. You can hear him talking about some of his travels and what he found.